You know, I'm going to start off by saying that by no means have I driven any of these cars, or rather test driven them anyways, or owned them for whatever may be. Nor do I own any of these stocks. But if you've seen late in the latest news in the EV market, Tesla's doing really well. I mean here and there and such. You got the Lucid Air and the other two EV companies that were coming out that were going to challenge Tesla was supposed to be the Lucid with the Lucid Air, the Rivian, um, the Rivian, as well as the Fisker. Now, with Lucid and Rivian, it's a whole different beast because the fact and well, let's be honest, those are the three U.S. based companies. Rivian based out in California. Lucid, I don't remember what it was exactly based out of, but still an American car. But they're building out towards the higher end model to compete with the Tesla S, but also other premium cars are going to come out there with the Mercedes and BMW coming with their own eventually as well too. And Fisker, uh, put it this way: first off, the Rivian was supposed to come out with to for the SUV market more than anything else. And quite honestly, the Rivian is a pretty good car. Quite honestly, similar with all the Teslas as well too. I haven't driven the Cybertruck, so I can't say much about that. Now with Fisker, it's filed for bankruptcy. You might ask, like, well, why would it file for bankruptcy? Well, here's the thing, and first and foremost, anything with the name Henrik Fisker is doomed for failure. Doomed for failure. Because let's be honest, this time around, it didn't work out for him again. I mean, quite honestly, one of the biggest things that was we knew it was doomed was when it was trying to work out a deal with Nissan. Nissan just like said, "Nah, we're not doing anything." They lost it. It showed that Nissan did their due diligence and realized there was something up, and that's why they just backed out. And by them backing out, no one else is going to invest in them. Whereas Lucid, at least, they've gotten a lot of funding from Saudi Arabia, at least mostly. A lot of the funding is from Saudi Arabia. But in this situation with Fisker, though, is I hate to say this, but like their cars haven't been that well. They haven't been doing so decent enough. I mean, you might have some enthusiasts because like of the Ocean SUV, but in reality is from what I'm hearing, it's not that great of a car compared to all the others that are out there. Quite honestly, if you had a choice between choosing a Fisker Ocean versus, let's say, the Kias or Hyundai's SUV, people will gear towards them over Fisker. Now, here's the reason why. And mind you, there was also a couple of reviews out there. One specifically from one of the major YouTubers out there, MKHD. I keep forgetting his name. Marquise Bolin. I forgot his last name. I'm sorry, but I apologize. I should know your name because like I MKHD. I just know by those initials now. But in any case, his review of it was uh, it wasn't a great experience for him whatsoever. To a point where you had a Fisker engineer calling one of the Fisker quote unquote dealerships or reseller and sounds like, why'd you sell this car? Like we're making an update, etc., whatever it may be. But that's beyond the point. So I'm having a little smoothie here, or fruit smoothie. Beyond the point is this: it was we're seeing this is happening again. This isn't Henrik Fisker's first time around with the EV market. He tried coming around the same exact time around the Tesla. They both were coming up around 2006, 2007, 2008, or you're hearing more about them. But Fisker came out and basically stole the design when he was coming out with his original. It was called the Fisker Karma. Stole practically the design from the Model S, from Tesla, basically. Mimicked it in a ways to the point where like they were gonna it sounded like they were gonna work out because the fact of the matter is Fisker was building not more of a hybrid approach. They were building a pure EV car with some gas reserve or gas tank reserves because it was supposed to help out to ease people into it. But the problem was with the Fisker Karma. I mean, originally when I first saw the Fisker Karma, I was like, it looks pretty good. And on paper, it looks pretty good. But when you see it in person, it was horrible. And lo and behold, what happened with the Fisker Karma and Fisker's company went bankrupt. At that point, when Fisker Ocean came out, I was like, I was kind of wondering. I'm like, okay, is Fisker gonna survive? Because did he learn from his last mistakes? And I was seeing and hearing a lot that he didn't. He was repeating the exact same mistakes over again. The only difference was instead of going the hybrid route, went the pure EV route, but he was cutting corners and such, from my understanding. So I'm like, that's when I realized, like, it was doomed for failure. So, and that's why I never even invested money into him. Now I'll admit, I did invest into Lucid when it first came out, and like, it's gone down considerably, but I'm hoping it comes back up again. I mean, let's be honest, Tesla, when it first came out, their stock price dropped, but now look where they're at. By no means is this a recommendation to invest in any of these stocks. I'm not saying that because I'll admit there's quite a few others out there like the Polestars. There's actually another company out there that's coming out that's going to compete with the Teslas, where it's like a Model S, but at the price of a Model 3. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes out. And then, of course, then you got the Chinese companies like um, BYD, NIO, with their own cars, but BYD being the majority stake or market share in the Chinese market, Chinese EV market. But I probably could go more and more into this as to why Fisker failed completely, but you saw the product, you're seeing in the news, product recalls. They were never able to like essentially meet up to their sales goals. There were also braking issues, like the serious braking issues, which they never did. And then their over-the-air updates, firmware updates, were taking much longer than anticipated. Their release dates were much longer. They were delayed, etc. And whatever. And then, of course, what other parts? I mean, honestly, there could be another number of things, basically, quite honestly, more than anything else. But honestly, I'll say this. Anything with the name of Henrik Fisker or an association to Henrik Fisker, I would steer clear away from that. I know you guys might think, yeah, it might be like, theoretically, I'm like, for me, I'm an anti-Apple, so I refuse to go back to an iPhone. That's why I'm an Android. But it's more so because the fact is like, oh, they're trying to create whatever it is. It's the same thing with people probably with Teslas. Like, all right, there's just too many Teslas out there. I want something unique. Quite honestly, I hate to say this, but like outside the Teslas, the Rivians, well, here in California, it's the Rivians as well as the Lucids. But outside of that, and the Hyundais and the Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6, as well as the Kia EV6 and EV9 that's coming out soon, or is already out, I think. I can't remember exactly. It's kind of expensive, though, the EV9. I haven't test driven that. I would love to test drive that. It's a question of, like, I would say basically just do your research on EV cars when they come out. Do not, like, go. I would test drive them and then compare not only price points but features as well too, and seeing like when it comes to like mileage, because let's be honest, when you get your car, when you buy an EV car, the moment you roll, you've heard the story, the moment you buy a new car, the moment you drive right out of the sales lot, the depreciation value drops considerably to like by another 20% or 30%. When you drive out with an EV car, the depreciation immediately drops to like down 60%, because it's resellable, but it's not resellable to what you can recoup back. It's 60% less at that point. So quite honestly, you're like the car depreciates considerably at that point. Why? Because here's the biggest factor. Battery technology is constantly improving to the point where like every 2 years, there's always going to be much better batteries. So after 2 years, your car is not going to like, something that's like going to get you like, let's say 300 miles on one full charge. 2 years later, it's probably going to be 800 miles. Everyone's trying to find better battery technology, long-lasting batteries. But the other factor is also trying to charge these batteries faster. And there are some that are coming out with, like, your battery might take a full hour supercharged supercharged to get full life, to full expectancy or full charge at, let's say, an hour. 2 years from now, it might be 30 minutes. As you see with phones, it's the exact same thing with phones. Phones are constantly changing. The problem is like they're getting expensive. Unless these cars are going to be subsidized, it's going to be hard. And that's why it's, for me, hard to justify buying an EV vehicle now unless I know I could go trade it in. So if anything, maybe you want to lease the vehicle. Lease the vehicle and see if you could trade it in for, a much better model down the line. But of course, with leasing, there comes also its caveats as well too. So I would look into that. And again, do your due diligence, do your research. I don't recommend, I'm not making any recommendations of what car you should buy, but you can listen to what other people are talking about. But before, see their videos, read up on it and such. But my suggestion is this: go to the dealerships, test drive these vehicles, and then see what you think about it and how you like it and such. And then also do your due diligence as far as asking questions, finding out, like, as far as like maintenance, warranty, etc. Basically, at that point, just do that. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about the Fisker itself. Would you buy, if Henry Fisker was deciding to create another car company? Would you decide to buy that? I mean, there are some Ocean fans. I'm not going to deny that. I'm kind of curious with the Fisker Ocean quote unquote owners. If you're leasing the vehicle, what happens when they go bankrupt? To the point where, like, do you get the car at a very highly discounted rate? Because it's got to be highly discounted. Because if they're going to say, hey, you're going to have to pay for the vehicle, like, no, I pay for a lease of 3 months or 3 years or whatever it may be, 12 months, whatever it may be. And at that point, I want a new vehicle. And they're obligated at that point. You're not obligated to buy the vehicle afterwards. So it's up to them. So with that, I'll leave it at that. Again, let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section. I'll read my comments when they warrant a response. I do read my comments. I do respond to them when they warrant a response. If you like my channel, like my videos, like my content, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.